which is very significant in our history. This is like what they call it, the most important milestone in our tradition. So Prof has mentioned about the lesson of preparation, interaction, eagerness, continuity. So, Alhamdulillah. So Prof, we look forward for today's lecture.
Yes.
Inshallah. Please go ahead.
You see my screen now?
Yes, epistemology, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, let's go to the fourth class. It's very fast. As I promised all of you in our last lecture, that tonight we are going to talk about epistemology, that we are going to focus on Islamizations of knowledge and the integration. When we are dealing with the epistemology, we feel that we are trying to talk about philosophy, because epistemology is one branch of philosophy. Because when we are talking about philosophy will have three branches, at least: metaphysics, epistemology, and ethic principle something. Because metaphysics will deal with things which is beyond the physics. That's why we call metaphysics. Normally we are discussing about God, we are discussing about universe, we are discussing about something which beyond the physics. So that's why from the root of this word we call metaphysics. This is one branch of philosophy. And the second branch of philosophy is epistemology, the thing that we are discussing tonight. And the third one, some say 3, some say 4, but it doesn't matter because we are not discussing about philosophy. But the third branch of philosophy will deal with the values. Which one is good, which one is bad. Good come from our intellect, or good come from Sharia. So that are about the branches of philosophy. So that's why when we are asking whether Ibn Khaldun is philosopher or not, we have to ask whether Ibn Khaldun discussed about branches of philosophy or not. If he discussed about epistemology, he discussed about metaphysics, of course he will be regarded and considered a philosopher. But if not, he will not be regarded as a philosopher. So that's why when we are asking whether Ibn Khaldun is philosopher or not, that will be very easy to answer whether he is or not. Depend on whether he discussed about branches of philosophy or not. But when we are discussing about Imam Ghazali, it is sure that he discussed in detail about epistemology, about metaphysics. So that's why no doubt that Imam al-Ghazali, he is among philosophers. So tonight we are going to talk about epistemology. Why we have to talk about this one? Because we are dealing with the classification of knowledge. Because epistemology is one branch of philosophy deal with the body of knowledge, origin of knowledge, source of knowledge, significance of knowledge. The thing we are discussing about knowledge, we call epistemology. So it depends on which aspect of knowledge you are discussing. We call that is epistemology. So it's okay tonight that maybe some say we are discussing about knowledge, some say we are discussing about epistemology, but some say we are discussing about philosophy. It's no problem, because even though it seems that these three things are different from each other, but in fact it's not different, because epistemology, knowledge, that is a branch of philosophy. So when you are dealing with the philosophy presented by Prof. Rosnani, maybe you have already got the knowledge about epistemology. But again, I will touch this issue because we are going to discuss about classification of knowledge. So epistemology, of course, it is about the knowledge, whether we are discussing about source, we're discussing about the body of knowledge, or we are discussing about significance of knowledge, which means we are touching the issue of epistemology. We are touching one branch of philosophy. But before we go to classification of knowledge, we have to come back to the significance of knowledge. I just touched because all of you have already known about significance of knowledge. If we are not aware the significance or the importance of knowledge, it is meaningless to discuss about the Islamization of knowledge because it is important. So that's why we have to discuss. So if we go to the significance of knowledge, a lot of many verses in the Holy Quran and many hadith mention about the significance, the importance of knowledge. You know, at least you will find that knowledge will elevate our status, like when Allah say in the Holy Quran that yarfa'illahu alladhina amanu minkum walladhina utul ilma darajat wallahu bima ta'maluna khabir. You know, Allah mentioned in the Holy Quran that that mean Allah raise our status in many degrees. In Allah say that Allah raised the status of human being when he has knowledge many degrees. So how many degrees we don't know that, but we just know that the significance of knowledge that Allah Subhanahu wa Taala will raise those who believe and those who have knowledge in degree. You know, many degree Allah will raise the status. So that means the significance of knowledge. When you have knowledge, Allah will elevate your status, will raise your status in degrees. You know, how many degrees we don't know because Allah does not mention about that. So that's why sometimes you say why those who have knowledge gain a very high position in the society, in their work, because when they have a knowledge, Allah will elevate, Allah will upgrade his status. You know, this is. But however, you have to work. If you go to this ayah, yarfa'illahu alladhina amanu minkum walladhina utul ilma darajat, you have to go before the verses before that. Allah mentioned about working for it. Working for it, you have to do that means you have to help Allah religion. You have to work hard, and then when you believe, and then you have knowledge, Allah will upgrade your status. And then the second one, when Allah mentioned in the Holy Quran that A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim, innama yakhshallaha min ibadihil ulama. So this is among those who are God-fearing, they are among those who have knowledge. So that means this verse shows that if you are not God-fearing, even you have knowledge, you are not really the ulama. So if you are the real ulama, you must be God-fearing. You must taqwa. So because Allah say, innama yakhshallaha min ibadihil ulama. So those who are God-fearing, who are afraid of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, among those who have knowledge. Okay. And inheriting, that means when Rasulullah say, hadith reported by Abu Daud, hadith number 3641, when Rasul say, Innal ulama warathatul anbiya. When he say that the ulama, those who can receive the inheritance from Rasulullah, not the material thing, but that means the work and responsibility to bring the message or convey the message to the human being. But this is very, 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 very important. The highest position. Sometimes we say that the president or the prime minister is the highest in your country, or the king, but no. The highest position is the one who convey the real message. That means those who are working like Rasulullah is the highest position. And those who can do this work, only those who have a knowledge. So that's why Rasul say, warathatul anbiya, those who can receive this thing, or who can bring this thing like Rasulullah, those who can work like Rasulullah, among ulama, among those who have knowledge. So if we go to verses in Holy Quran and you go to prophetic tradition or hadith, you can find many things, many hadiths, many verses mentioned about significance of knowledge. I just touched few verses and only one hadith to confirm and to assure all of us that knowledge is very significant. Otherwise the first verses of Holy Quran, Allah will reveal by using other words. Why Allah used the Iqra, Bismi Rabbikal Ladzi Khalaq. Iqra, that means indirectly will show about significance of knowledge. Okay, now all of us are convinced that knowledge are very significant, because without knowledge we cannot survive. Without knowledge we cannot go back to our civilization. Okay, etc. Okay, and then we go again to responsibility, our responsibility about knowledge. If we are asked what are our responsibility toward knowledge, so we have to say, first we have to seek knowledge, seeking knowledge. So that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed first 5 verses about the word which show that we have to seek knowledge. Iqra bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaq. And after that, Nun wal qalam. See, many verses in Holy Quran to show that you have to seek knowledge, because knowledge is very important, and knowledge will bring you to the civilization, and knowledge will bring you back to Jannah. We come from Jannah, and we are going to Jannah again. One thing that we can bring us to the Jannah is a knowledge. So we have to seek knowledge. So everybody, it is compulsory. Talabul ilm faridatul ala kulli Muslim. It is compulsory for all Muslims to seek knowledge. So that's why knowledge is a lifelong process. We cannot stop. That's okay. That's why IIIT online try to propose the class like this, because knowledge you have to seek. You cannot stop, say, oh, now you are knowledgeable, no need to seek knowledge. You cannot say that, because seeking knowledge is compulsory for all of us. After that, when we seek a knowledge, we gain a knowledge, again, we have to do the second thing. We have to practice accordingly. We have to practice according to knowledge that we gain. Many ulama say, if we practice otherwise, we have a knowledge, the true knowledge, but we practice otherwise, that means your knowledge will be meaningless. So you have to practice according to knowledge you have. So this is our responsibility. Seeking knowledge is compulsory, and then when you gain knowledge, you have to practice according to your knowledge you gain. And the third one, you have to distribute your knowledge. Balighu anni walau ayah. Don't wait until you become professor. Don't wait until you become lecturer. Don't wait until you become a teacher. You say when you become teacher, you are going to distribute knowledge, you are going to teach, you are going to do da'wah. No. Balighu anni walau ayah. How many knowledge you gain? You have to distribute your knowledge to everybody, even Muslim and non-Muslim alike. Muslim who has one kind of knowledge, and non-Muslim one kind of knowledge. Maybe a different objective, but no problem. But you have to bring your knowledge, because Allah will ask when you get knowledge what you are doing with your knowledge. So doing our responsibility about knowledge we gain, we have to distribute our knowledge. And the last responsibility that we have about knowledge, we have to protect the knowledge. We must protect our knowledge. We should not let other to distort our knowledge, to make our knowledge dirty, make our knowledge distorted. We cannot. We have to protect. So that's why if we have chance to study about the role of ulama, the classical ulama, they declare jihad to protect the knowledge. They have to fight against those who commit a lot of bid'ah something. Why? Because they must protect the knowledge. Seeking knowledge, practice accordingly, distribute knowledge, and then we have to protect. Sometimes we have to declare jihad to protect our knowledge. We don't want our knowledge to be distorted by anybody. But nowadays, you see many of our people, they go astray from the real one, from the truth. Why? Because they gain a distorted knowledge. So that's why we have to protect. When knowledge is protected, so they go to the true knowledge. Okay, they practice according to the knowledge they have. That is what we expect. We don't want our knowledge distorted by some people. And when they follow the distorted knowledge, they go astray from the right path. So our responsibility is protecting the knowledge we gain. So protecting the knowledge we gain will deal with the Islamization of knowledge that we are discussing later on. The way that we are going to Islamize the knowledge, we are going to integrate the knowledge. So this is one of the practice that try to show that we are going to protect the knowledge. Because, if you go back to the 19th century, our knowledge had been divided into traditional knowledge and secular knowledge. Before the divide and rule, if you study political science, they weaken our people, they cut our strength by divide and rule in our country. But before they divide and rule, they divide our knowledge into traditional, into modern. So that means our knowledge was distorted. So we have to protect this one, to bring back to the origin of our knowledge. So this means the protecting the knowledge. And to protect the knowledge, it will deal with the thing that we are discussing about the Islamization of knowledge. That's the main focus of tonight's discussion. Okay. Again, we go to the how to gain a knowledge, because the first responsibility we have to do, we have to gain a knowledge. How to seek a knowledge. So if you go to Al-Quran or go to Hadith, there are many verses showing about seeking knowledge. For example, of course, Qira'ah, Iqra' bismi rabbikal ladzi khalaqal insana min 'alaq. You see this one. This is the first method that we gain knowledge that we cannot refuse, because 5 verses of the Quran will deal with the Iqra'. Soal, is asking. Fas'alu ahla dzikr in kuntum la ta'lamun. So soal, asking question, or asking is one method to gain knowledge, which is mentioned in the Holy Quran. And even Rasulullah used to say that the medicine, I cannot remember the exact hadith, but I can understand from this hadith that Rasulullah said the medicine of Jahil, medicine of Jahil is Su'al. If you don't want to be Jahil, you don't want to be ignorant person, you have to Su'al. That Su'al is one method that you are going to use, going to gain a knowledge. That Su'al mentioned in Al-Quran. And after that, An-Nazar. An-Nazar is one method that you are going to gain knowledge. If you go to Al-Quran, you can see that many words in the Holy Quran that mention about An-Nazar. Fal yanzuru, you see, fal yanzuril insanu mimma khuliqa. See, fal yanzuril, Nazar is one method of gaining knowledge. And you go again, tabassur, tabassur. Afala tubasirun. In the Quran says, afala tubasirun. Tabassur is one method. The method to seek a knowledge, and one method to gain a knowledge. Again, we go to the fifth, tadabbur. Tadabbur in Al-Quran mentioned ada tadabbur. Say, afala yatadabbarun al-Quran. See, tadabbur is one method of gaining knowledge. Okay, 6, you go to 6, tafakkur, yatafakkarun, liqaumi yatafakkarun, many words telling us about yatafakkarun in the Holy Quran, because tafakkur is one method of gaining knowledge. And then after that, you go to tadakkur. Tadakkur. La'allahum yatadakkarun. So you see in the Holy Quran, you can see this word in many verses and mention about tadakkur, because tadakkur is one method that you will gain a knowledge from tadakkur. Okay, and then after that, i'tibar. Yuqallibullah. Sometimes you say, okay, li'ibratun. In Quran, li'ibratun, something they mention about this, that means i'tibar. And the last one that I will touch is tafakkur, tafakkur, yafqahu, liqawmin yafqahu, many words in the Holy Quran you mentioned. These are among methods that you will gain knowledge. It does not mean that only 5 methods that you gain knowledge, but I show you only 9 methods that you will gain knowledge. And all these methods are mentioned in the Holy Quran, and even in the hadith like tafaqquh fid din, when Rasulullah make a dua to Ibn Abbas, so he mentioned about tafaqquh fid din, and those who understand the deen, that will be among the best knowledge that they get. So these are methods. These are ways to gain a knowledge that are very significant when we gain knowledge. Okay, I have touched three things about the significance of knowledge, but in fact there are many things about the significance of knowledge, and also many methods that you can gain knowledge. Not only this, may be experiment about the journey, and so many methods that we can gain knowledge. But I just touched only 9. So that the rest, there are many you can go by yourself, because we have very short time. I cannot go in detail from one by one. Just mention that methods that we are going to gain through knowledge. That Allah Himself mentioned all the methods in the Holy Quran, and even the Rasulullah, some word have been mentioned in the prophetic tradition in the Hadith that show that this method are acknowledged and recognized by Islam. Okay, again, the knowledge that we are discussing tonight, we want the knowledge to produce the balanced personality, the thing that we have already touched in our last few lectures. Okay, let's go fast and then we go to our now we are going to we are talking about protect the knowledge, and then we are going to talk about the classification of knowledge. If we are going to talk about classification of knowledge, you can find many scholars, classical scholar and modern scholar, they try to classify knowledge, try to divide knowledge in different ways. Imam Ghazali, Ibn Khaldun, and so many scholars, even Ibn Rushd, Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, and so on, they classify knowledge. Some they have a different method of classifying knowledge. Like Imam Ghazali, he himself had many what we call many kinds of classification of knowledge. Sometimes he say knowledge has been classified into fardu ain and fardu kifaya. Sometimes he say knowledge gaining from given knowledge and from refined knowledge. If you go to Imam Ghazali, you can see that Imam Ghazali himself, he tried to propose many kinds of classification of knowledge. But if you go to Ibn Khaldun, since Ibn Khaldun is not philosopher, he touched very few about the epistemology, but we can gain the knowledge from his classification knowledge, because he classified knowledge into akli and nakli. So this is Ibn Khaldun. But if you go to the Islamic Conference on Education held at Jeddah in 1977, this conference, they assemble the contemporary scholar and educationists sit together and discuss about the classification of knowledge, and the fruit from the discussion from this conference, they classify knowledge into revealed knowledge and acquired knowledge. Revealed knowledge and acquired knowledge. So if you go to other scholars, maybe they have a different classification of knowledge. Some say al-ilmu billah, al-ilmu bi-dinillah, al-ilmu bi-khalqillah. So I prefer al-ilmu billah, al-ilmu bi-dinillah, al-ilmu bi-khalqillah. Because, sometimes when we are talking about al-ilmu aqli or al-ilmu naqli, if you say ilmu naqli is the knowledge which is revealed, or we say naqli is revealed knowledge, and aqli, that knowledge that we acquire, we find ourselves by using our intellect. Sometimes it's very difficult to clarify this, because if you go to a Holy Quran or you go to the Hadith, sometimes Quran itself mention about the al-ilm fardu kifayah. You go to Quran, many about science mentioned in Holy Quran. If you say that revealed knowledge is which is revealed, but the aqli, the knowledge you find by yourself, and you say science is the knowledge that you find by yourself, or you acquire knowledge you science. But how about science mentioned in Holy Quran? It is revealed knowledge, because Allah Himself mentioned about science in the Quran. It is revealed knowledge. So that's why I say, based on my understanding, I prefer to classify knowledge into al-ilmu billah, al-ilmu bidinillah, al-ilmu bi-khalqillah. So when we define into three like this, that will be easy to give the definition from one classification to another classification. But if we are asked why the scholar they give a different classifications of knowledge, sometimes make us very confused, because which one we have to believe in, which one we have to be with, the classification with whom we have to be with, because the classification of scholar, they give a different classifications of knowledge. Even though they give the classification of knowledge different from one person to another person, but in fact it is not different. The difference is the method that they use to classify. Those who are dealing with the source of knowledge, those who are dealing with the origin of knowledge, where the knowledge comes, so they will classify or divide knowledge into acquired and revealed knowledge. But those who are discussing the knowledge or classifying knowledge based on the fiqh, they may say fardu ain, fardu kifayah, or syariah ghairi syariah. So it depends on the criteria that scholars use in classifying knowledge. So they use the criteria of the origins of or source of knowledge. So they go to naqli and aqli. So if they classify knowledge depend on the knowledge relevant to what. So the knowledge will be classified into al-ilmu billah, al-ilmu bidinillah, al-ilmu bi-khalqillah. So does not mean that al-ilmu billah, al-ilmu bidinillah, al-ilmu bi-khalqillah contradict with the aqliya and naqliya, or contradict with the revealed knowledge and acquired knowledge. No, it's not that contradict, but only they use the different criteria, different measure to classify knowledge. So knowledge classification knowledge will be different from one to another. Why? Because the criteria they use. So don't be confused about classification of knowledge, whether knowledge is classified into revealed knowledge or acquired knowledge, or al-ilmu billah, bidinillah, bi-khalqillah, or ainul yakin, haqqul yakin. Don't be confused, because they have a different criteria to classify knowledge. So that's why the classification of knowledge will be varies from one person to another person. So it depends on you prefer which one, you take it, no problem. I just want to present to you that the classification of knowledge, there are many different. Ghazali, Ibn Khaldun, Al-Farabi, Ibn Sina, Ibn Rushd, Al-Kindi, and others, they have a different classification of knowledge. Why? Because the criteria, the measure they use to classify, they have a different measure, they have a different criteria. So that syarat or shurut, so that's why the classification of knowledge varies from one person to another person. So that's why I say I prefer to classify knowledge into al-billah, bidinillah, and bikhalqillah, because we are talking about Islamization of knowledge, because I classify knowledge in these into three categories. Al-ilmu billah, we are nothing to do with the Islamization of knowledge, because if we are talking about al-ilmu billah, normally we will touch about salaf and khalaf. But it's not our business to talk about salaf and khalaf. But I just want to say that when we are dealing with the al-ilmu billah, so we will talk about salaf and khalaf. It is not our business tonight. Al-ilmu billah, when we are talking about al-ilmu billah, this is al-ilmu billah. We are dealing with the differences of school of thought, like madhahib, you know. Madhab is just okay. Madhahib, nothing to do with the Islamizations of knowledge. What we are going to touch the issue of Islamization of knowledge, that means when we are dealing with the where is the cursor? Okay. When we are dealing with the al-ilmu bi khalqillah, because when we are talking al-ilmu bi khalqillah, and then there will come two things for us to discuss. That means traditional knowledge and modern knowledge. Traditional knowledge will based on Turath, and modern knowledge will based on the scientific. So that's why the modern knowledge, they have a lot of experiment, because so many things they don't know the answer, they have to do experiment so that they will find the answer. But for the traditional knowledge, and normally this knowledge is based on the Torah. So our Torah, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained so many things that scientific cannot understand, and scientific cannot reach to that one. But our Torah, we go to that level. So that's why when we go to that level, sometimes we are not aware the importance of experiment. So that's why traditional, which is based on classical knowledge or based on Torah, sometimes it is quite slow in terms of experiment, because we know the result from something. But modern, they have to do a lot of experiment, because if they want to know, they do experiment. Why? Because they want empirical knowledge, they want the scientific. So that's why these two kinds of knowledge, they go parallelly, you know. It seems that they are not integrated. So this is the thing that we are discussing, that why if we divide knowledge into traditional knowledge and we divide knowledge into modern knowledge, of course, the product from this division or this isolation cannot produce the balanced personality, like the goal that we are going to. When we want to produce the balanced personality, those who are like the scholar in the past, in the golden age, we have to offer them both traditional and modern. But now the problem is the modern knowledge has been distorted by a certain belief. So that's why we have to Islamize the modern knowledge. And when we Islamize and we integrate with the traditional knowledge, will be like a integration that we are discussing. This is Islamization, and time is very okay. I try to finish as soon as possible. Islamizations of knowledge. Islamization means the normally will be modern knowledge, social science and human science. In the modern side, when they have their own concept of knowledge, and normally they don't believe in Islam, they don't believe in Allah, the oneness of God. So since they grab with this philosophy, the modern knowledge is distorted in Islamic perspective. When it is distorted, how to make it bring back to the origin that knowledge come from Allah, we have to Islamize. So that's why we call Islamization. So a way to Islamize, or way of the Islamization, there are many. For example, just clean it in minority country like Thailand. I try to show example that when we are talking about Charles Darwin theory, of course it is not accepted. Charles Darwin, the way to Islamize in Thailand perspective, in Thailand experience, we can do. We mentioned that Charles Darwin believed in the theory of evolution, but Islam does not agree with that. Islam said that means the way of Islamization. So that means we mention the distorted knowledge and we give explanation to that distorted knowledge. So this is one way to Islamize the knowledge. The second way that we can do, we throw away the evolution theory. We don't say that human being have been developed from monkey something. We say human being have been created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then we throw away the concept of distorted, and we present with our real knowledge. So that is the second method of Islamization of knowledge. That means we keep the former distorted knowledge and give explanation. This is one method. The second, we throw away the distorted and we give the real one. So when the knowledge is clean, or knowledge become clean when we Islamize that, so and then after that we can integrate with the Torah, and then the knowledge will be integrated. So this is a very simple and very short time that I can go to Islamization and integration. So when we Islamize the knowledge and we integrate the knowledge, we must be sure that the knowledge will be like this. The nature will be, the knowledge will relate to the Rabbaniyah, and the knowledge will be Shumuliyah, and knowledge will be Wasatiyah, and knowledge will be Waqi'iyah, and knowledge will be Muruna, and knowledge will be Abadiyah. Okay, Muruna mean Muruna mean flexibility, and Abadiyah will be last long. So this is what I can share to all of you tonight, because still we have less than 10 minutes for question and answer. Thank you very much indeed. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so much, Prof. Okay, we take the first question by Ibrahim. Prof, can you explain where will the Quranic scientific knowledge be classified in? What? Surely it is not the modern knowledge that is scientific. This is very true. Some people also say, people are saying that Quran also is scientific.
Because when we are Quran is scientific, that means we are influenced by scientific. But sometimes when we say Quran is scientific, so only scientific knowledge is accepted. This is, sometimes it is good, but sometimes it is it is not good, because it seems that when it is scientific you can accept, but sometimes scientific cannot explain many things in Holy Quran, because Quran is more than scientific. Quran is the truth. Quran is the truth. That's why I mentioned in the first lecture that Islam is not a religion. That is a very big issue. Islam is not a religion, but Islam is deen. That means way of life. Islam is not scientific, but is more than scientific. But seem nowadays, if we say, because many people, they are influenced by scientific, if it is not scientific, not be accepted. So that's why we try to explain in scientific manner, in scientific way, that Al Quran is scientific. Of course, Quran is more than scientific. Even though your science cannot explain Al Quran, but you have to believe in Al Quran, because Al Quran beyond that. Because Quran is not scientific. Quran is revelation more than scientific, based on my understanding. But when I deal with my student, I say Quran is very scientific, like the question answered by addressed by our brother or sister. But I understand that he has the very similar idea with me, with mine, because he just want to, when we are talking about al ilmu billah, if we deal with Muslim, we say salaf is no problem. When we discuss with Shahran, you ask me about the evidence about the existence of Allah. I say, Qul Allahu ahad. That's finished. Okay. But when we deal with unbeliever, we have to use a logic. We have to give the explanation. Of course, when we are talking about Quran with other, we have to say Quran is very scientific because of this and that. Because of course, you all mentioned in the Holy Quran and Hadith, they are all scientific. When you have an experiment, and then you can see the result will be the same and consistent with what have been mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah. But for me, we are beyond the scientific. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay. The second question is by Rosaini. What is your opinion when scholars selective in disseminating knowledge? I think selective can be good, can be negative, can be positive. Is it?
Selective mean what? I'm not really understanding it. Selective what?
Yeah, the question is very broad. It can be either way.
That mean they select. They mean the modern and traditional knowledge, and they select one. You mean like that or not? I'm not very sure with this question.
Okay. Yeah. Or how about withholding knowledge? They withhold, don't teach everything.
Give to other. No, we cannot do like that, because Rasulullah said, "Balighu anni walau ayah." So when we are professor, we are lecturer, we have to bring all our knowledge to our student. Don't keep it. Islam will not support this practice. You cannot. You have to bring all, because responsibility on knowledge. It say you seek knowledge, practice accordingly, distribute your knowledge. Don't keep it. Give. The knowledge will be different from money. Money, when you give to other, your money will be finished. But knowledge, when you give to other, your knowledge will be increased. Don't worry about when you give to other, your knowledge will be gone like your money. You give and your knowledge will be increased. And if your knowledge is what we call the yantafa'u bih, so that can bring the reward from the knowledge you distribute to other, even when you pass away. But don't keep the knowledge with you, but on the good knowledge, but bad knowledge, don't give it. Don't, because the Imam Ghazali, you say there will be the knowledge, you should not seek that knowledge, and that knowledge, okay, don't give to other, like a bomo hantu, something like that. You cannot do that. Allah.
From Brother Abdullah, Prof, please explain the difference between at-tadabbur, at-tafakkur, and at-tazakkur. And what is the connection between these three concepts and the Islamization of knowledge?
Okay. They want to go to that sometimes, okay, that will be a little bit different, but sometimes they can use interchangeably this word. Three words that mean, let's say I go in detail. The first word is okay, let's see a little bit. Okay, again, you repeat the word so that I can go to the root.
Tadabbur, tafakkur, and tazakkur.
Okay. Tadabbur, then means tadabbur first.
Yeah.
Tadabbur, sometimes, it's very difficult to explain in detail, but tadabbur means you like you use your intellect to consider something deeply. So that means tadabbur. Because sometimes tadabbur, tafakkur, and tadakkur, sometimes that mean but if you go to the root of that, they will be different. But when you, like for example, you use in your daily life, when you use these three words, they will be very, very similar. Sometimes very difficult to explain one by one, unless you go to the real tafsir of okay, you have time. Okay, I have no time today. You can go to Tabari. You can go. Maybe the Mufassirin will give a detail about this word. Of course, these three words will be different. Otherwise, Allah will not use the different word. But in our daily life, when we are talking about this in our daily life, sometimes we can use this word, that word, and other word in a very similar manner, in a very similar situation. Setabat, tadabbur, tazakkur, sometimes they are very, very similar. Okay. Wallahu alam.
We take this from Brother Firman. Prof, will you explain why most knowledges adopted from Western, such as epistemology, ontology, and axiology?
Of course, sometimes terminology that we are using, sometimes we can use, because when we are talking even philosophy, okay, when we are talking about epistemology, which is just one branch of philosophy. The word philosophy itself, falsafa, this word, you cannot find this word in the Holy Quran, because this word comes philosophia. Then philosophia will be defined like love in seeking knowledge, something, because they come from Western. This is a philosophy. When we are discussing about branch of philosophy, of course, because the root of philosophy comes from Western, and epistemology also comes from Western. So if we are going to discuss about the philosophy in Islamic perspective, that's why some of us scholars, even me, we prefer to talk about hikmah, because hikmah, this word mentioned in the Holy Quran, and hikmah mentioned in the in hadith, when Rasulullah hikmah lost, so any place, anytime you find, and take it. So hikmah, when we are talking about hikmah, this word, you can find this word in the Holy Quran. In the Holy Quran, the hikmah itself, you go to the tafsir of Tabari, hikmah refer to Al-Quran and Sunnah. So which means that if we don't like to discuss about philosophy, but we want to replace the word philosophy by using hikmah, so hikmah itself in the tafsir of Tabari say hikmah itself mean Al-Quran and Sunnah. So that means philosophy is Al-Quran and Sunnah. So if we want to talk about philosophy, we don't like the Western terminology, Western word, we use hikmah. Instead of talking about philosophy, we are talking about hikmah. Hikmah is the Quran and Sunnah.
Okay, from Sister Jamalia. Prof, the last part, nature of knowledge, can you explain it a little bit more? The criteria of the nature of knowledge?
Nature of knowledge. Okay, let's go to nature of case. Okay. We go to our, okay, let's go to our point again. Sometimes I was like, okay, go to our point, the nature. Which one? Oh, this one, the last one, the last part of this. This is, our knowledge, we have to relate our knowledge with the sustainer. We have to relate our knowledge with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means the real knowledge must come from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we say Rabbaniyah. We have to relate our knowledge to our Rabb. Our Rabb, that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So all knowledge must relate with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means if the knowledge is not accepted by Allah, we should not touch that knowledge. So this is what we call Rabbaniyah. So our knowledge have to relate with our God. Shumuliyah means, and this very perfect. That means our knowledge will cover this world and next world. Western world, they cover the knowledge only this world. They just accept only the scientific knowledge, that the knowledge come from a certain hypothesis, which is trust that that hypothesis is accepted, so that they will accept that knowledge. So the knowledge that cover only this world, we cannot say that that knowledge will be shumul. Shumul means perfect, cover all things. So that means that the knowledge in Islam must cover all this world and next world. So that means shumul, cover all the modern and cover tradition, cover all the worldly and cover next world and so on. This is what shumulia. Wasatiyah, that means our knowledge should be wasatiyah, the balance, just balance. Knowledge will be balanced. We should not emphasize on balance. Does not mean in the middle. Balance means balance. You know, sometimes balance, not in the middle. Now you get balance. Sometimes when we want to be ulama, we have to emphasize on traditional knowledge more than the modern knowledge. We say the wasatiyah. Why? Because we want to be ulama. But if we want to be medical doctor, we have to emphasize on science and so on. So that means the wasatiyah. So we have to study both. Does not mean you study this medical doctor, you want to be a medical doctor and you forget all the Islamic knowledge. No, that is not wasatiyah. So with wasatiyah, you have to be balanced between this world and next world, between the traditional knowledge and modern knowledge, between this world and between next world, between your intellect, between your spiritual aspect, between your physical aspect. We call wasatiyah, and in the middle, balance. Waqi'iyah, that means the knowledge will consistent with the current issues. Does not mean that the knowledge in Islam, we can explain only the issue in last 200 years, but we cannot explain now. No, the knowledge must be waqi'iyah. So that means even today and in the future, the knowledge will be consistent with the waqi'i, the context that knowledge in. Muruna mean flexible something. Muruna, al-muruna, the flexible. Our knowledge must be flexible, not be passive and stagnant. That you cannot you say haram today and tomorrow you cannot change. No. Sometimes they will be flexible. Flexible, that means very the knowledge must be flexible. And the last one, abadiyah. Abadiyah means lifelong. Yeah, our knowledge can be used until the Yawm al-Qiyamah. That means abadiyah. So the knowledge should possess this nature. So rububiyah, relate to our God, cover all aspects of our life, balance and consistent with the context, and flexible and lifelong, last long or lifelong. So this is the nature of knowledge. Wallahu a'lam.
There's another question by Rosaini. Is there a difference between knowledge and information?
It is different. Like al-ilmu, al-ma'rifa, al-ma'luma, they will different. Knowledge, al-ilmu, this is if we compare, then mean the bigger, then mean the highest, the ilmu will be highest. The ilmu we can use with Allah. That's why you say Allah, ilmu of Allah. We cannot say ma'rifah of Allah, because ma'rifah means the knowledge that you gain from your through your eye, through your hand, through your thinking. So that means ma'rifah. Al-ilm will higher. But information is just information. That means this is one kind of knowledge, but not the highest one. Information that I tell you become information. But if the revealed knowledge, they become al-ilm, not information. But in your daily life, you can say, oh, this is information from Allah. You can say, no problem, no, nothing happened. But the real one is not information. That is the al-ilmu billah, the knowledge revealed to us. We cannot say, oh, Al-Quran is information. No. But you say, oh, I get information from Al-Quran. It's okay for your saying. But the thing you get is not information. It is ilm. But information is a part of ilm. But ilm is highest one. Ma'rifah is lower, because ma'rifah, the knowledge you gain from your hand, by your eye, something, but not from the revelation. Allah.
Okay, Prof. Brother Abdullah has second part of the question on tadabbur, tafakkur, and tazakkur. The question is, what is the connection between these three concepts and the Islamization of knowledge?
Islamization of knowledge?
I mean, this concept of tadabbur, tafakkur, and tazakkur.
Yes.
And the connection.
Yeah, the tadabbur, i'tibar, and all this. This is the method to gain knowledge. This is method to gain knowledge. But Islamization of knowledge is not the method to gain knowledge, but the method to clean the knowledge which is distorted. For example, the relationship between this, okay, like this one. One knowledge is distorted by Charles Darwin when he proposed the theory of evolution, that human being developed from monkey, something like that. So we have to clean this one. How to clean this one, we call Islamization of knowledge. So how to clean that? You have to find knowledge. Without knowledge, you cannot clean it. So how to find the knowledge? You use tadabbur. You have to think, ponder on that. You reconsider, spend your intellect to understand, really understand, tadabbur, tazak, all this. When you understand, you use the knowledge you understand to clean the knowledge distorted by Charles Darwin. You say you use the method of knowledge, method to find the knowledge. When you gain knowledge, you Islamize the distorted knowledge by using the knowledge you gain from tadabbur, tazakkur, and tafakkur. Wallah.
Thank you, Prof. Alhamdulillah, I think we have many good questions tonight. Alhamdulillah. So we look forward for next week's lecture, Prof. Do you want to summarize a bit for tonight, Prof? Before we close?
Yeah, because tonight is very philosophical. That's it, just okay. You see, like in Malaysia, it's okay. In Muslim majority country, they sometimes the Islamization of knowledge is not very important, because the Muslim country, they will look on knowledge distributed in their own country. But in Muslim minority country, if we don't Islamize the knowledge which are distorted, that means our people will be filled with the distorted knowledge. So when in their brain full of the distorted knowledge, don't expect that our future, our civilization will come. So that's why we have to work hard in a Muslim minority country to Islamize the knowledge. But in a Muslim majority country, maybe I don't know whether it is important or not. Like one day I discussed with my friend in Umar Qura. So he said Islamization of knowledge is nothing. It's not important. I say, okay, not important for you, but very important for me. He said, even me in Thailand is not important. Why we have to Islamize the knowledge? Because knowledge is already Islamic. I say, okay, I will give you an example. If I go to Makkah and in the meeting, I propose halal food. I say, oh, in Makkah, we have to provide halal food for us. You will laugh. Because in Makkah, all halal. But if you come to Thailand and we discuss, say, okay, we have to provide halal food to all of us, they're very simple. So he get the idea. But I say, in Thailand, we are taught by our teacher that human being developed from monkey. How to do this? He say, oh, you have to tell the truth. How to, to tell the truth. This is the process of Islamization. But we say, because Islamization, it is a terminology we use. But how to tell the truth, we call Islamization. And I told him that Islamization is Sunnah. Oh, this is short. Why? Because Rasulullah had been sent to this world for Islamization. But not only knowledge, but Islamization of human being, we call da'wah. Because you know, Islamization is Western word. Rasulullah said da'wah is Islamization, but Islamization human being we call da'wah. Islamization of knowledge, we say Islamization of knowledge. Oh, after that they get the idea. So okay, our discussion terminated and we go to other topic.
Thank you so much, Prof. We still remember when we had a conference in Bangkok last 10 years. Difficult to find a hotel who serve halal food. We have to order from outside. They allow us to stay, but then to get fully halal food. I mean, catered. It is not that easy. Thank you so much, Prof. We look forward for next week's class, inshallah. Thank you, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.